Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the 3 Minute Therapy Podcast. I'm Dr. Michael Edelstein, and always joining me is my co-author, Dr. David Ramsey Steele. Today, we're going to be applying REBT, Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, to relationships, relationship problems.
Right. So one thing I'd like to ask you about, Michael, is uh, in your dealing with couples, you apply what we call the problem separation technique, um, and that plays a very prominent role in the chapter in our book um, on marriages. So I wonder if you could just briefly explain the problem separation technique.
Yeah, this is a good issue to bring it up with because when you work with couples, sometimes they just have practical problems, but being imperfect humans, they often escalate that into emotional problems. So, a common one with couples is they're deficient in their communication skills. They're not the best communicators. And that leads to practical problems, which means there are practical solutions. The most obvious one is communication skills training. So I would teach them better communication skills. Now, if it's just a practical problem requiring communication skills training, then that solves the problem. And sometimes it does. Sometimes in the first session, I explain some of these strategies, and by the next session, they're dramatically improved. Now, being imperfect humans, they often escalate these practical communication problems into emotional problems, and uh, the communication tends to uh, go in a get worse and worse and worse because they get angry at each other, they feel hurt and not being understood, they feel over frustrated because the communication isn't working. So in that case, that calls for emotional problem solving strategies. And the main one that we recommend, but not the only one, is looking for the demands underlying your anger or hurt or over frustration, impatience, those kinds of things, because our emotions come from our thinking. And that we often come up with things like, you should do as you agreed, or you should understand what I'm saying, or you should take care of the kids sometimes and wash the dishes once in a while. Uh, you should talk to me more, those kinds of things. And that leads to anger. They come from reasonable preferences. I prefer you talk to me more. I prefer you spend more time with the kids. I prefer you listen. You're a better listener to what I have to say and what I'm experiencing. So those preferences make sense, but escalating them into demands and condemning your partner because they're not living up to demands just makes things worse.
Right, right. Um, I haven't really thought about this much until recently. Um, but what would you say are the main areas of contention when couples have problems? It seems to me that uh, given that we wrote this chapter together about marriages, um, that the two biggest issues seem to be sex and work. Um, that it's a very common phenomenon that the sexual desires and tastes and so on of two people don't match perfectly, and that leads to problems and frictions. And the other thing is that the strain of work on the relationship, occupational demands. Would you agree that those are the two biggest things?
Well, I've heard those are two large subjects of contention. And I've heard that an even larger one is finances. In
Mm.
fact, it's said that the main thing that breaks couples up is problems about finances, disagreements about finances, those kinds of things. But in my clinical experience, what I find that the main problem is communication, anger, resentment, hurt, those kinds of things, or sometimes just growing distant from your partner. As you grow, you change and your interests change and what you like changes, those kinds of things. So that's another factor. Um, but once in a while, I do get a couple that are having financial friction, and in that case, I help them with the emotional problem and then refer them to a financial counselor for the money and budgeting part of it. Um, but whether it is finances or sex or work or something else, the issues from REBT point of view in terms of the emotional problems are the same, that they're angry or resentful at each other or feeling hurt because they're misunderstood or overly criticized. And in that case, we look for their mas and help them with that.
Right, right. You mentioned anger, but surely anger has to attach itself to some other issue. People are not angry just about being angry. They're angry about sex or work or money. Um, uh, isn't that so?
Sometimes, yes, but they could also be angry because their partner isn't communicating the way they think they should with them. So they could be angry about poor communication. And often, in the cases that I work with over the years, uh, it is about poor communication. The communication breaks down. They each blame the other one for the communication breaking down. And the things that the original content of the communication uh, is various things. Kids, who's going to take care of the kids, or another one is in-laws, that your your brother is very nasty to me. I don't want you to see your brother anymore. Or don't talk to your brother, because when you talk to your brother, you're not. It's a vote of non-confidence for me. Those kinds of things. So in-laws is another issue. Also, sometimes friends, where one partner won't like the other one's friends, thinks that they're critical, and and is resentful that the first partner is spending time with friends.
Yes, yes. Um, how people form opinions about the couples they know, and sometimes couples break up, and it's a big surprise to their friends and acquaintances. Other times, it's not a big surprise. And the reason that made me think of this issue is that whole current Bill and Melinda Gates divorce proceedings. Um, that's a couple that you would never have predicted, or at least I would never have predicted, would have a breakup at that point in their lives. They've been married 27 years. Um, they have immense wealth. He's the fourth richest man in the world. And if they split their wealth 50-50, she will be the second richest woman in the world. Um, and their kids are grown up, or at least almost grown up, three kids. Uh, you it would be difficult to say that to predict this. Surely that to an outside observer they wouldn't be prime candidates for a breakup.
Yeah, that's a good point. Often, when couples are out in public, they're on their best behavior, and you really wouldn't know what's going on intimately in their relationship. So that could have very well been the case with the Gates. So I think that's one explanation for that.
Right, right. And another of these exceptional cases was Jeff Bezos. Of course, he had a divorce after I think 20 years or something like that of marriage. Um,
Hmm.
yeah. So this is just part of the range of possibilities. There's nothing significant in this.
Yes, and another thing is about being married for a long time. People change and grow apart. So, in that sense, it's understandable that after many, many years of marriage, people might separate. And
Right.
especially these days when people are living somewhat longer, they might want the latter part of their life to be more enjoyable and find another partner that they resonate more with.
Right, right. Well, of course, the public, when couples go for counseling or when they break up and divorce, uh, as you just pointed out, other people don't necessarily know what's going on. So one possibility is that either Bill or Melinda has someone on the side who is, and this has been an influence on this breakup. Um, I once read a book by an expert on marriage counseling who said that in the majority, I think she said the majority of cases, certainly in a huge proportion of cases, when when a couple shows up for therapy or for counseling, um, at least one of the couple has already definitely decided that they're going to terminate the relationship. So their motive for going to counseling is not to save the relationship, but to find a dignified ritual for ending the relationship. What's your observation on that?
Yeah, in terms of my clinical experience, that's been very rare. When I get couples, they almost always, not always, but almost always want to make the relationship work out, or they want to see if the relationship has any potential and could work out. And it doesn't seem to me that uh, often one or both of them have made up their mind that they're definitely going to leave. I think it seems more intuitive to me. Tell me what you think, David, that if someone uh, decided that it's not working for them, they're not interested in trying to make it work, they're not going to show up for counseling. So I'm not exactly clear why they would.
Oh, I think they would do it to save face and to uh, provide a dignified ritual to end the relationship.
I see. I see. Well, I'm not into ritual that much that maybe that's why they don't come to me.
Right, right.
But
Or it could just be that you're such a wizard as a therapist that you save relationships, even though one of the couple has decided that they're going to end it.
yeah, that's much more
Yeah.
likely.
Okay.
You had
Well,
you had mentioned to me, David, that Bill had an affair sometime in the course of the marriage with Melinda's consent. And another problem we haven't mentioned yet in marriages is jealousy,
right.
where
Right.
one person is jealous of the other person, suspecting they might be having an affair, or that their partner is having an affair. And that's not necessarily a death knell to the relationship. I've worked with couples where one has had an affair and the other one was upset, hurt, angry, but yet they wanted to work it out. And learning REBT, they learned how to uproot their emotional disturbance, anger, resentment, hurt, those kinds of things, and then continue on with the marriage in a fairly positive way. So you can always change those feelings if your partner has an affair, and you can have a chance of making it work out from there.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, that's all I have. So, is there anything you'd like to add, Michael?
Just to mention to you viewers, if you liked our video, please give us a thumbs up and comment below, ask questions, disagree with things we might have said. And if you'd like to be a guest, let us know. Come on, we'll help you with your jealousy problems. Or if you're a therapist and would like supervision or suggestions for a difficult client, that would be great. And donate to Patreon to help support us. And also, I'd like to thank Chris Rossini, who's our technical person who makes these things work behind the scenes. So thank you, Chris, for that. And continue watching the 3 Minute Therapy podcast to stay on the rational side of life.